Okay, and we're live with another episode of The Focal Thought, and my esteemed guest today is Sachin Patel. Thank you Sachin for coming on the show today.
It's my absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. I'm really honored to have you on. I should let our listeners know that I have no idea how we met, but you are a contact on my Facebook page. And the sort of categories that you're posting on Facebook on your page, in terms of fractals, you're getting into sleep methods, you're getting into, psychedelics, breathing. You attended the Parasympathetic Summit recently. You were a guest at that summit. You're into James Nestor in terms of his breathing books. You've got the 5.5 seconds in and out breath technique. I mean, each one of these categories is a podcast session in itself. So we'll just try to, sort of touch briefly on some of them. In terms of an introduction, Sachin Patel has the Living Proof Institute, which is based off Mississauga. And I'm really glad because to have someone like that in Toronto, right in your own backyard, that's really awesome. Because me personally, I'm always looking to maybe the US or Europe, etc. So I'm really glad that you've got your practice here. Just a little bit in terms of a resume, you've got your honors of Bachelor of Kinesiology, your Doctor of Chiropractic, Certified Functional Medicine Provider, Certified Gluten Practitioner, Mastering Brain Chemistry, the Kalish Institute, Bioprints Level 1 and 2. And once again, I'm just reading these, from your website. But what really caught me, perusing through your website and your Facebook posts is your main mantra, and this is in your mission statement itself: the doctor of the future is the patient. And that really struck out. So how easy is this? Why should people absorb this mantra? And what is your ultimate mission with the Living Proof Institute? Like, where is all of this heading?
Great question and great intro. I appreciate that. It's always interesting to hear about yourself. You know what I mean? Because I just love being in that observation of listening to you introduce me. And I wanted to acknowledge you did such a great job. So thank you. And thank you for all the listeners that are tuned in today. Talking about the doctor of the future, being the patient is really like understanding the dynamics of our healthcare system and understanding what a viable solution is. Right now, regardless of whether it's natural medicine or allopathic medicine, functional medicine, whatever it is, in our current paradigm of health, it requires illness first for somebody to receive any benefit.
Sure.
And so, unfortunately, if we continue at this pace, there will never be enough doctors to heal people that don't know how to heal themselves. It's physiologically, biologically, economically impossible. Everyone would have to be a doctor. I mean, nobody can care about your health more than you. And once we understand that our body is in a constant state of dying and being reborn in every single moment. Billions of cells will die during this conversation, and billions of those cells will be silently replaced at a molecular level. This is happening inside of us constantly. There's septillions of functions going on simultaneously in our body. And so who can fix us better than us? I mean, our body literally built itself and will continue to do that until the day that we die. So it is the most remarkable thing that we possess. And in fact, if a single cell from our bodies was found in outer space, it would be the greatest discovery of mankind. But here we are on Earth, and nobody's taught us how to control each and every single one of them, because we do have that capacity. In fact, right now we are in control of every single process at a subconscious level in our body is being guided, right? So whether we call that a divine guidance, an innate intelligence, or whether we call it biochemistry, these functions are taking place constantly inside of us. So once you see that, once you can visualize that, and once you can understand and then embrace that, then it really unlocks the magic of your entire life, not just health, not just having normal cholesterol, not just having normal blood pressure, right? Not just the absence of disease, but the presence of living a fully embodied and an enlightened life. And so that's what we want for people. That's the ultimate goal of the Living Proof Institute. And that's why we call it Living Proof, because it is our namesake to provide, that living model and evidence that we can be the best doctors, and we must be the best doctors. If you understand the problem, that's the only solution. That is the absolute only solution. And that's a solution that we all want for ourselves, for our family members, But what I realized, nobody built that solution. And that's what we did with the Institute.
So you're sort of from the camp that everyone's looking at outer space, but no one's really sort of focusing on inner space, where all the magic is.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. The only thing that our current system has to do, whether it's natural or allopathic, is convince you that the answers are outside of you. Once they've done that, then you will always look in the wrong places for your actual healing, your deep healing to take place. So the best place to hide it is inside of you. And that's what's happening right now. It's hidden from plain sight. And it's available to us in our breath. It's available to us in our thoughts. It's available to us in what we put in our mouth. It's available to us in what comes out of our mouth. It's available to us in who we hang out with, how much time we spend in nature. I mean, it's accessible to us at any moment. At this moment right now, it's accessible to us.
Nice. Okay. So then why would you think everyone is focused on the outer versus the inner? Do you think maybe it has to do with the senses, that they grab the immediate tension and then distract us from the inside space?
Well, we live in a material world, right? And the word in Sanskrit is Maya. So everything is truly an illusion. And when we study physics, when we study chemistry, and we actually go down to an atomic level, we realize that everything is an illusion. It's all empty space. And so our nervous system is tuned into these 5 senses, and I would argue 6 senses. And our focus has always been on the things we can see, the things we can smell, the things we can touch, right? The things that we can taste, the things we can, hear. Like all of these things are easy to us. They're available readily to us. And shutting these senses off is a daily practice, right? It takes work to be able to do that. And when we can do that, then we can access a different part of us. Now, there are people that have that capacity and capability, and it takes years to actually get there. And so what I'll tell you is I'm working my way there. And I think that we're all a work in progress. Even the people who we hold in the highest regards, if you follow them on a daily basis, they're a work in progress. So I always want to make sure I make that very clear to everybody that I'm working on me every single day. And it's very easy even for me to be in the Maya, in the things I can see, hear, touch, feel, taste. It's really easy for us to be there. And so that's the default setting of our nervous system. That's what the channel our nervous system is tuned into. So in order for us to tune into a different frequency, we've got to tune in a little bit differently in our bodies. We've got to go inwards as opposed to going outwards.
Okay, great. So in terms of going inwards, now say a listener has, sort of heard you say this, and that they're like, okay, I want to stop focusing on the outside and I want to go inner. So is meditation something that would be the channel to making the switch, or is there something else you recommend, or how did you first start going inwards?
Great question. So actually, one of my favorite ways to go inside is to go outside, because as is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. So I love going for hikes in nature. I love being present in nature. I love staring at the bark of a tree, because when I do that, what I see is me. I see a grander representation of me, and we are everything. We're connected to everything. And so that's where my journey always started, or started and starts every single day. My connection with nature. I love the ability to access that. And it gives me a glimpse of what's going on inside my body, the balance between life and death, the balance between, new ideas and old ideas, and, old ways of thinking and new ways of thinking. I mean, nature lives in this constant state of balance. So if we can align ourselves with that physiology, it's going to allow us to tap into the parts of us that are able to be more appreciative, that are able to be more present, and to be more aware, and to have gratitude and creativity and all the things that we want to use our mind with. So nature helps me get into that state. And meditation, the thing with meditation is it can mean different things to different people. So for some people, meditation might be bird watching. For some people, meditation might be prayer or mantra. For some people, meditation might be a walk in the woods. So we've got to find that thing that we look forward to.
Nice.
That
I like
thing that lights us up. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I like that you mentioned that each each thing that you look for, where it's, a sunset or if it's a lake or a mountain, it's unique to the person. I was just listening to a podcast the other day with Tim Ferriss and Yuval Noah Bari. Sorry, I don't know if I'm saying that pronunciation correct, but he's the famous author for the book Homo Sapiens.
Yep.
And other books. And apparently they were saying that Vipassana meditation was something that sort of, allowed him to write that book. A friend suggested that sort of meditation to him. But he was very clear in pointing out that some people, Vipassana meditation would not work as well as, say, maybe transcendental meditation. So that's important, right? So when someone's looking to go in, you have to find your unique way of going in, which is personal to your paradigm, right?
Absolutely. And I think another thing to understand is that it's a path. So, nature might inspire you along your path, and then you might get into breath work. Then you might get into bird watching, or then you might get into, learning new languages, or, find what that is for you. I think that's really important. It's got to be something you look forward to, something that when you open your eyes in the morning, you're excited to do it, because that's going to enrich your life. Instead of something that seems like punishment to you, it's going to be something that enriches your life, lightens you up, makes you feel good. And again, something that you look forward to daily.
And I guess this will be the sort of sign that you're doing it correctly, is that the empowerment starts to encapsulate you, right? You start to feel more empowered and enlightened and etc.
Yeah. I mean, you wake up and you look forward to the day because this is part of your day and you get to do this. For me, being on a call like this, an interview like this, is kind of meditation for me. I look forward to this. I enjoy this. And I know I'm going to leave this interview and feel good about myself. So, think about, what it is that you love doing, what lightens the mood for you, what lights you up in the morning. Those are the things that I want people to pursue.
Do you think that when you're sort of making the switch from outside to inside, a certain amount of strength is involved? Because one thing I find, this is as with myself, as I'm sure it is with other people, we allow ourselves to sort of be held, by the outside forces, right? Like, we sort of lean on things like, coffee, TV, certain time wasters, maybe, if you want to take it to that extreme. To really go inside, you really should have your own strength and you should be comfortable, in your own inside, right? Which theoretically, like we're saying, is, it might be easy theoretically, but when you're actually physically doing it, some people might be missing sort of that caress of the outside world, right? Because when you go inside, it's really you that's caressing yourself.
Yeah, great perspective. It's a great visual too, to kind of think about it. It's almost like you're, encapsulated in this blanket, hugging yourself, and there's an entire universe inside of you for you to explore. The thing that I'll say for a lot of people is that, and really this is from my friend Ben Hardy, Dr. Ben Hardy, who wrote the book Willpower Doesn't Work. And his message is exactly that: willpower doesn't work. So we've got to, start by eliminating distractions in our life, because distractions are what pull us away from the work that we need to be doing. That's why it's called a distraction. Otherwise it would be called work, right? So we've got to identify those things, and we've got to be very clear that with ourselves that willpower is not going to work. So for me, for example, one of the things that I did recently is I took Facebook off my phone, and it's been transformational for me. It's allowed me to be more present. It's allowed me to spend less time on social media. Like I'm not fighting myself in order to try not to pick up the phone and see if I've got a message or to see if somebody commented on something. And in hindsight, that took up a big part of my day. And by taking it off my phone, it's allowed me, I read much more now. I've physically read books. I was listening to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts and stuff like that. And I got away from actually physically reading. And now it's, I read for a half hour every single morning. So it's great to be able to connect with myself without these outside distractions and without something constantly dinging and pinging me. So just know that willpower doesn't work. So first step is to identify what are the distractions in my life, be honest with yourself, and then start removing them. And that could mean, I didn't delete my Facebook account and I kept Messenger on my phone because I don't get millions of messages, but, I took off the actual app itself, and I don't even know the password to log in. So I don't even know I'm going to log back in when I need to. I'll probably have to do a password reset.
That's funny because I recently just installed Messenger on my phone. For the longest time, I was just using it on the laptop, and everyone is telling me, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you in 2020?" But it's for this very reason, and because I didn't have it on my phone, I wasn't used to it. I was able to sort of keep some focus, and the only reason I put it on the phone is because I was doing some Facebook Live stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do it from the desktop hack, right? And my camera on the laptop just wasn't happening, so. But I'm very focused to sort of utilize it only for those business purposes,
Right.
and try to sort of schedule social stuff on social media. So, what you're doing sort of falls into the category of what's called functional medicine, which is a form of alternative medicine, right? So if you wouldn't mind explaining, what is functional medicine, and sort of how does it differ, if any, from homeopathic medicine, or any other sort of other medicines that fall under alternative medicine?
Sure. So, what I'll tell you is that functional medicine is what I would consider like an all-inclusive type of medicine. So we embrace and accept all the best modalities that are out there. And we kind of are a Rosetta Stone, if you will, for all these different ways of healing the body. And one of the things that's cool about functional medicine, and really for those of you that are new to the term, functional medicine, by my definition, is essentially personalized root caused healthcare and self-care. I believe that 80% of the healing takes place based on what the patient is willing to do for themselves, and then 20% can be based on unknown factors to the client. So they might have certain deficiencies or toxicities or imbalances that they're unaware of, despite doing their best at being healthy. So we help people get to the root cause, and sometimes these root causes can be in the mind, sometimes they can be in the body, sometimes they can be in the spirit, believe it or not. And so we take a mind, body, spirit approach to helping this person heal and transcend to that next level of their existence. So our goal and our objective with our clients mainly is to empower them and change their behaviors. We build, one of our mantras is skills over pills. So we want to teach people certain skills, whether they be communication skills or cooking skills, or whether it be movement skills, exercise skills, meditation, or breathing, whatever skills they learn. We want them to learn skills for one very important reason. One, because it radically changes their health. It's a form of self-love. But more importantly, in my opinion at least, is that it changes the next generation, because when we show our kids self-care, we never have to teach it to them. They don't have to wait till they get cancer to learn how to eat, or to breathe, or to, be healthy. People shouldn't have to wait that long to get that message. So if we can get people to change their skill set, then we can condition their children as well simultaneously to take these proactive steps to be healthy and, more importantly, happy. Here's the thing. You can't have health without happiness, and you can't have happiness without health. So the two are really the pursuit. And I think all of us at the end of the day are in the pursuit of happiness. And once we recognize it, in order for us to be really happy, we have to be healthy. And it's the same path. So when you're walking the path of health and happiness, it's the same path. And once people see that, then again, they're much more likely to get that buy-in. And for my son, for example, I don't have to teach him anything. I just have to do what I know I need to do to take good care of myself, and he's going to learn that by default. Our children have mirror neurons, so they learn very quickly. It's the fastest thing they do is learn new behaviors, and so they can learn from us if we're modeling that for them.
Yeah, and I really like, I think it's on your Facebook page. There's a really nice picture, or it could be on your website, of you running and your son sort of, running with you, and your spouse in the background. It's a beautiful picture because it encapsulates, again, what you're saying, right, with self-care.
Oh, thank you. I love that.
And I imagine when you're talking about self-care, you're talking about everything from, something as simple as maybe, trimming your nails, grooming yourself, to what you put into your body, in terms of in terms of nutrition, what you put into your mind as well, right? In terms of knowledge.
Absolutely. It's everything. The way I look at an individual is the way I look at a diamond. So if I was a jeweler and I was analyzing a diamond, I would look at how well polished each of the facets of the diamond is. We've got this like very myopic thinking when it comes to health. People think there's going to be like one pill that's going to fix them, or one diet that's going to fix them, or one, a breathing technique that's going to fix them. And that's just one facet of the diamond. And so we've got to polish all the facets of the diamond. And that's not to say that we're going to get to it every single day, immediately. It's something that we work up to. And, we continue to polish these facets of the diamond. And, that's going to include things like sleep. It's going to include things like breath work. It's going to include things like, do you get outside in nature? Do you get sunlight every day? Are you outside every day to reset your circadian rhythm? Are you getting adequate rest and feeling refreshed? These are all the different facets that we need to address with clients.
Do you try to be outdoors, or not necessarily outdoors, but just go outside every day, even if it's say -30, being, Canadian weather storms and things like that?
Well, those are my favorite days. So I actually work from home. And when it gets that cold, I love it because nobody else is out there. You're alone in the woods. It's like an amazing, amazing feeling for me. I try to be out there as much as I can. And what that really means is I like to be out there more. So I'm out there every single day. I try to get out there multiple times a day if I can, because that helps us regulate our circadian rhythm. And our circadian rhythm regulates our hormones, which then regulates our blood sugar, regulates inflammation. I mean, everything is, based off of how we regulate ourselves from a circadian standpoint. And being indoors, especially right now, I'm on the computer a lot more than I normally would be because everything's on Zoom. And so because of that, what that ends up in is our brain is getting this information. As much as we try to mitigate it with glasses and lenses and stuff like that, our brain is getting information that it's daytime all the time. And, of course, we can do things like adjust the temperature on our screens. We can wear blue blocking glasses. We can get different type of light bulbs. I just ordered light bulbs from Australia that don't emit any blue light, so that our house is going to look like a club. It's going to be all red on the inside. And there's things that we must do on a daily basis, and getting the appropriate sunlight is very important. There's junk food and there's also junk light, and that's something that often gets overlooked.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. So you're really trying to go out as much as you can to go in, right? By your philosophy.
Exactly. If you want to go inside, go outside. Nature is the best place to see, what's happening inside of you in action.
And what is it about staying indoors versus going outside that is beneficial to the circadian rhythm? Is it just the fresh air, the oxygen, the exposure to the sunlight?
Well, the way all animals and even our brain keeps the time of day is by the positioning of the sun. So from the positioning of the sun and the way shadows are cast, our brains can determine what time of day it is. So, and what part of the day it is, more importantly. Not so much the time that's important, but, animals don't wear watches, right? They don't care what time it is. What they care about is when the sun is rising and when the sun is setting. So every single plant, every single other animal on the planet has aligned their biological clock with the sun, except human beings. So it's by no surprise we are also the sickest animals on the entire planet. Interesting fun fact, the average human being used to sleep 10 hours a night before they invented the light bulb. Now the average human being sleeps about 7 hours a night. And those aren't necessarily good hours. So 3 less hours per night. And those 3 less hours per night, aren't filled with, drum circles and meditation and chanting and yoga and breath work and stuff like that. It's filled with more email, more stress, more artificial light, more, everything else that degrades our health. In some languages, in fact, there's no word for insomnia.
Wow.
So it's, this is like a unique problem to developed countries. And, my biggest focus, for a few years ago, I kind of picked a theme for each year. So a couple of years ago, my focus was light, infrared light specifically. And then the year before that, it was HRV, which is known as heart rate variability. And this year, my theme was sleep and really getting, dialing in my sleep. And then the theme for the second half of the year has been breath work. So, I'm layering all these things on top of things that I'm doing already. And it's amazing how we can incorporate these things so easily into our lives.
Yeah, I've seen some of the screenshots on your Facebook page for some of the sleep apps I believe you're using.
Yes. So I use an Aura Ring, and I also use something called Snore Labs. And what that does is it records you while you're sleeping and identifies if and how much you're snoring at night.
Oh, wow. And anyone can sort of download that app, and is there a hardware device attachment for it, or?
So it's an app on your phone, and what you do, I put my phone in airplane mode, so I turn off all the signals, and then you put it next to your bed while you're sleeping. So you kind of next to your nightstand, and then it records as you're sleeping at night.
Oh, cool. I have to look into that.
Yeah, check it out. And the other thing too is like you can input remedies. So if you're wearing like, I wear a breathing strip at night. I also mouth tape at night, and I use an air filter at night, and I use positional sleeping, so I sleep on my side. So you can actually put these different inputs in, and it'll help you identify which one has the greatest impact on your snoring as well.
Nice. You had mentioned, I think, right, if you find that you have too much frequent urination during the nighttime, to use a mouth strip.
Yep. So one of the things that happens when we breathe through our nose, it increases something called vasopressin, and vasopressin is what kind of regulates our retention of fluids. So when we breathe through our mouths at night, it's going to increase our frequency of urination.
Oh, I see. Okay. And would the tape disrupt any sort of proper breathing, or no? It's meant for that.
Well, if you follow James Nestor's work, he goes into this pretty deep, but I'll give the 30-second highlight for everyone's benefit. So your nose is an organ, and we don't really give it much thought, right?
Yeah.
They say the answers are right under your nose. Well, what do you think your breath is, right? It's right under your nose. So one of the things that we have to realize is that our nose was designed to intake air. That's one of its main purposes. It filters air. We increase nitric oxide production, which is antiviral. It cleanses the air. It pressurizes the air as well. So the air goes in at the right pressure into our lungs. And it also helps to, interestingly enough, the nose is an organ that if you don't use it, you lose it. So some people people have difficulty breathing through their nose. The best thing that they can do is start breathing through their nose. And that will open up the passageways. See, the other thing with the nose is that when we breathe through our nose, it's a filtration system, it's a pressurizing system, it is a moisturizing system, and it's also a moisture recapturing system. So a lot of times people who are mouth breathing, for example, will feel really dehydrated. And the reason for that is because when we breathe through our mouth, when we exhale through our mouth, we're not recapturing the moisture in the air because our mouth is already saturated.
Yeah.
So
with moisture, right?
With moisture, right? So there's not much that can recapture at that point. So one of the things that we need to understand is breathing in through the nose is extremely important. Breathing out of the nose, is important, but let's say optional. So you can always breathe out through the mouth if you choose to, but I prefer keeping it in through the nose, out through the nose. During certain breath works and specific techniques, there might be times where you want to breathe out through the mouth. When you're talking, you're breathing out through your mouth. When you're singing, you're breathing out through your mouth. So people who talk a lot, people who speak a lot, sing a lot, they're going to want to pay attention to how much are they breathing through their mouth and how much are they breathing through their nose on a regular basis.
Got it. And I saw you've got the 5.5 seconds in and out breath technique, right? So that's 5.5 seconds in, and same thing, 5.5 seconds out consistently.
Yep, exactly.
And I think is this from James Nestor as well, that technique?
Yeah. So what James did is he studied breath work from so many different vantage points, but he studied this 5.5 breath in and out. It works at about 5.5 breaths per minute. So that's kind of an easy way to remember it, as he would say. And what he did when he studied like mantras and prayers and things like that, he found that most of them were set to this cadence. So by naturally going into these states where we're saying these prayers, these mantras, or these chants, it puts us into that 5.5 second pattern. And so part of the reason why we feel better when we do these things is because of the cadence of the songs and the pacing of these songs.
Wow. And that's a funny thing also. I mean, a lot of users of marijuana, they report this sort of ironic breath work that's happening. Usually when your heart pulses, your breath also will sort of follow that same acceleration, like say if you're doing a run or something. But with marijuana, the users have reported that the heart is beating fast, but the breath is almost maybe half of that, heartbeat tempo pulse, which is sort of ironic, right? It's the other way of what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more.
Maybe do a test session to find out. I want to ask you one last thing, because you're the first person to mention this, and you just mentioned on the podcast, you're focusing on the body and mind, but you're also focusing on the spirit. What can you say about the spirit really briefly?
Yeah, great question. So, here's the thing, like there is a part of us that is software, right? That's our mind. There's a part of us that's hardware, that's the body. But then there's a part of us that is kind of ineffable, and I would describe that as our spirit. So, it's almost like really fascinating when you think about it, because there's a thought, but who's having that thought? Where is that thought emerging from, right? And so that's what I would describe as the spirit. It's that inner essence of who we are. It's the never changing part of us. And in Sanskrit, the word is Atma. It's a part of us that never dies, that continues to live on past this, mortal coil, if you will. So the spirit is really a big part of our healing journey. And what we find is that, people can have the best mindset, they can have the best lab work, but there's still there's a deeper part of them that needs to be healed. And that's, one of the things that we focus on with our clients, and we can get, get clients into transcendental states where they're experiencing and touching the veil of their spirituality through breath work. And it's just been amazing. Like, yesterday I just did a breathwork session with a client, a friend of mine actually. And during that session, within 35 minutes, he opened up a portal. Like literally he said, the portal opened up and I breathed myself into the portal, onto the other side, into this expansive space where he could see, everything and everywhere. And it's just amazing to be able to access that. And that's what I would describe as a spirit. It's the layer above the body and the mind.
And we as humans, we have the power to influence and heal our spirit?
I think so.
Nice. Well, you know what? I'm going to let that be maybe a second topic on the podcast. It was very hard to figure out what to talk to you about, because there's so many great things that you're looking at, and you're practicing at your clinic, and you're sort of thinking and reflecting about. But I'm glad we were able to touch upon a little bit of everything. Actually, 25% of everything. And once again, thanks for your time. If people want to get a hold of you, either personally or at your clinic, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best thing they can do, thank you for asking, is to go to our free program. So our mission is always to keep people out of our practice whenever possible. So if you're looking for help with your wellness, your personal optimization, go to www.30in30.org. So it's 30in30.org. That's a free 30-day program where I share 30 of my best tips with you, the things that I would tell you if you are coming in to see me or work with me as a coaching client, the things that I would tell you if you held a gun to my head and said, tell me the best stuff that you know right now. These are the 30 things that I would tell you. So check that out, because that's going to be a great place for you to start. And then you can always go to www.becomeproof.com, and that is our main website. You can check that out. And on the main website, if you want to learn more about our morning routine, you can download that as well. So I invite you to go there and learn more about us. And I invite you to learn more about yourself and continue to explore your mind, body, and spirit.
Awesome. And I'll put those in the show notes as well. And just like you're saying, to go in, you have to go out. So, by people coming to see you, they'll find themselves, right? The same sort of analogy.
I hope so.
Thank you very much, Sachin. I'm really honored to have spoken with you. I wish you and your family well, and good luck in your mission.
Thank you, my friend. Great interview, and I appreciate the opportunity to connect with your audience.
Thank you.